You've awakened. You finally understood that life isn't just bills, routine, and distractions. You've started to see that there's something beyond the surface, something greater, more subtle. But now, everything feels strange. What once made sense now feels stupid. What used to motivate you has lost its meaning. You feel like you're here, but at the same time, you're not. There's an absence of purpose, a hollow feeling you can't explain. And deep down, you begin to ask yourself, is there something wrong with me? No, you're not broken. You're crossing over. And I need to tell you Daniel's story, because it might be your story too. Daniel was like anyone else. A regular guy, working a regular office job, living a predictable routine, carrying a quiet frustration he preferred to ignore. He wasn't unhappy, but he wasn't alive either. He was just existing. Until one gray Thursday morning, his grandmother died. She was the only person he truly felt connected to. At the funeral, while everyone cried around the coffin, Daniel felt something else, a kind of silence, uncomfortable. It wasn't sadness. It was like time had stopped, as if something ancient was collapsing inside him. In the days that followed, Daniel began to question everything. He started reading about spirituality, consciousness, purpose. He let go of old habits, quit his job, ended his relationship. He began meditating, eating better, searching for answers. And for a while, he felt peace. He felt clarity, lightness, even a kind of spiritual euphoria. It felt like everything was finally falling into place. But then came the silence. Not the beautiful silence of meditation, but the terrifying silence of a soul with no ground. Nothing made sense anymore. Not the old desires, not the new ones. He couldn't find motivation, not to study, not to build something, not even to take care of himself. It was as if he had died, but his body was still here, wandering. That's when Daniel thought something was wrong with him. But then, he discovered Jung. Carl Jung was one of the few psychologists who truly understood the soul. While most focused on treating symptoms, Jung looked deeper into what lies behind it all. He said there comes a point in the journey where the ego begins to dissolve, and what's left is a void, an in-between space. Jung called this the dark night of the soul. It's the space between the death of the false self and the birth of the true being, a territory without maps, without guarantees, without direction. You're no longer where you used to be, but you haven't yet arrived where you're meant to be. You are in between. Motivation disappears in this space, because the old motivation was based on things that weren't truly you. Validation, status, comparison. And now that all of that has crumbled, what's left? This is the most dangerous part of the spiritual journey, because here, many give up. They think they've gone backwards. They think the awakening was a lie. They run back to their old self, or they get lost in the limbo of apathy. But what no one tells you is that this is the true process of purification. The soul is digging, it's cleansing, it's burning away everything that was illusion, so that you can be born clean. Daniel spent months in that space. He felt like a stranger to the world. Nothing excited him, nothing made him cry. It was like living in black and white. Until one day he came across a quote by Jung that changed everything. What you do not bring to consciousness comes back as fate. And then he understood. That emptiness was a portal. Not a sign to give up, but an invitation to go deeper, to enter himself, and allow the soul to do its work. So he stopped resisting, stopped pressuring himself, stopped trying to be functional again. He simply started to be, to breathe, to observe, to wait. And one day, without warning, something shifted. He woke up and saw sunlight coming through the window, and he cried, not from sadness, but from presence, from truth, from gratitude with no cause. It was as if the soul had, finally, returned to the body, and then motivation returned, but not like before, not as a goal to chase, but as a quiet calling, to live in truth, to serve with love, to be whole without needing to prove anything. Daniel no longer wanted to be someone, he just wanted to be. And in that just being, he found everything. You who are hearing me now may be in that same place, between the death of the old and the birth of the new, between ego and soul, between the noise of the world and the whisper of the spirit. If you feel like you've lost your motivation, understand this: you are not broken. You are being emptied, because everything that was false must leave so that what's true can enter. The pain you feel is your rebirth. The emptiness you're experiencing is the fertile ground where the new will be planted. But it takes courage, because crossing this void demands more strength than any external battle. It is the most silent and the most sacred war. So now I ask you, do you have the courage to keep crossing? If this story spoke to your soul, write below, I am crossing. This isn't just a comment, it's a commitment to yourself. And if this video touched something deep in you, share it with someone who might be walking through their own dark night. Because sometimes, all we need is to know we're not alone in the dark. Subscribe to this channel, but only if you're brave enough to stay awake.